So, apparently there are other game fests that take place during the summer that aren't the Xbox Game Showcase. Huge if true. From Day of the Devs to Wholesome Direct, and of course the big Jeff Keighley bonanza that is Summer Game Fest, here's a roundup of all the most exciting games we got to look at this summer, with confirmed release dates for the biggest titles out there. Just when we thought we were out, Mafia the Old Country pulls us back in with a new story expansion. Arriving on August 14th, Man of Honor will have players taking part in a prison break to help out a certain Don Salieri, years before he became the man who terrorizes players in the first Mafia game. Not sure whether this is before or after he has that beef with Mozart though. As well as adding 2 brand new chapters to the story, Man of Honor will also throw in some new weapons, vehicles, and environments for players to explore. So if you enjoyed the base game, consider this an offer you can refuse. What a summer it has been for Star Wars fans. Not only did we get a shiny new Grogu-centric movie, but we also got a fresh look at not 1, but 2 upcoming games. Star Wars Zero Company is set to arrive first on August 27th. It's an XCOM-style strategy game complete with permadeath, so you'll have to make every decision very carefully. After all, not everyone in the galaxy aims like a stormtrooper. And if you fancy something a little more fast-paced, Star Wars Galactic Racer comes zooming in on October 6th. Now this is what I call pod racing. Except it actually also involves speeder bikes, skim speeders, and other speedy stuff. Build your own craft, tear through a thrilling campaign, and then head online to prove yourself as this generation's Sebulba. The Blood of Dawnwalker is shaping up to be one of 2026's must-play games. It looks class. The latest trailer for this vampiric action RPG is every bit as bloody as you'd expect, giving players a good look at the dark powers they'll get to mess around with and the gruesome folks they'll encounter over the course of their 30-day adventure. It also issued a timely reminder that where that adventure ends will depend entirely on the choices you make. So pick up the Blood of Dawnwalker on September 3rd and see where your journey goes. Dragon Wilds is RuneScape, but not as you know it. But also kind of as you know it. Officially set to arrive on September 15th, this new game puts a co-op survival spin on the classic formula and has players gathering resources and crafting gear so that they can go hunt them some dragons before eventually squaring off with the Dragon Queen herself. I know some of you will say that the Dragon Queen doesn't actually hold any real governmental power and, she's good for tourism and all that, but we're taking her down anyway. This might be a bold new step for the series, but that classic RuneScape feel is still very much there. From the chance to fight Zogres and Black Knights, to the soundtrack stuffed with reorchestrated RuneScape tunes, to the fact that the whole thing is completely community driven, with player feedback shaping the game every step of the way. Dune Awakening, the epic open world survival game set in the land of giant worms and funny dance walks, is coming to Xbox consoles on September 22nd. Not only that, but it will be launching with a full single player mode, which is something we know lots of players have been very keen on. So you can forge your legend out in the desert all by yourself, in a public server full of still suit wearing strangers, or one reserved for you and your buddies. Just remember, if you do play with your friends and one of them turns out to be immediately really good at the game, you should get familiar with that "Listen out, Gaib" gif. Where we're going, we don't need little plastic orange roads. That's right, Hot Wheels Infinite Rush is taking players off the tracks and giving them a whole wide Hot Wheels-sized world to race through. Explore 4 distinct islands as you complete challenges and unlock over 150 different vehicles, or get creative and use the game's gorgeous world to build your own unique tracks. There's also a wealth of multiplayer options, including both online and local split screen, so Hot Wheels Infinite Rush really will promise endless hours of fun once it arrives on September 24th. The next chapter in Control's supernatural tale will arrive also on September 24th, and it looks pretty gosh darn exciting. This time around, we're playing as Jesse's brother Dylan, who has just escaped from years of captivity at the hands of the FBC, only to find that the whole of Manhattan has been overrun by paranormal forces. So you might expect I'd have a bit of an axe to grind. And he does actually. But it's a shape-shifting supernatural axe, hammer, sword thing called the Aberrant. Whatever it is, the Aberrant looks like an absolutely delightful thing to clobber people with, and Control Resonant looks like just the sort of blockbusting follow-up that the first game deserves. Onimusha Way of the Sword also used the Summer Fest to drop its release date, and would you believe it, it's the very next day. Arriving on the 25th of September, this cinematic third-person actioner revives the Onimusha franchise in spectacular style. Players will get to slice and dice their way through a dark fantasy version of Edo period Japan, with a tactile combat system that merges elegant sword skills, bloody finishing moves, and slightly more brawlery, improvisational stuff like steering enemies into obstacles and flipping tables over to use as shields. You know, all of these new games so far have got me craving a shiny new console to play them on, and Xbox have cooked up something very special to satisfy that too. The Xbox Series X25 was unveiled at the Xbox Game Showcase and pays homage to the OG translucent green Xbox as a stunning celebration of Xbox's 25th anniversary. Pre-order details are coming soon, but in the meantime, you too can celebrate Xbox's 25th anniversary with this thirst-quenching Fanta collaboration. Delish. Each can has been wrapped with one of Xbox's iconic franchises, from Forza Horizon 6 to Halo Campaign Evolved, including an exclusive new flavor called Crimson Sour Cherry. Scan the QR code on each of these cans and you can earn in-game rewards from an exclusive car to Call of Duty calling cards. Grab a can today and scan that code while they last. Some legends just get better every time you tell them, and we're betting that this is the case with our laid-back, limbless friend, Rayman. On October 1st, Rayman Legends Retold brings back the acclaimed 2013 platformer in style. This is no simple remaster, although the whole thing is getting a lush three-dimensional visual overhaul, but the Retold version will also add a brand new storyline into the mix, complete with a mysterious new villain, a new realm for players to go bounding through, and 4 new musical stages. On top of all that, there are even some brand new fully voiced cinematics for those who want to immerse themselves deeper into the story of Rayman and his slap-happy pals. I love Rayman. That's not the only legend making a return on October 1st. Dynasty Warriors is bringing back its game-changing third entry with Dynasty Warriors 3 Complete Edition Remastered. Rebuilt in Unreal Engine 5, it allows for epic 1 versus 1,000 battles as players pick from a cast of over 40 characters and put their fighting skills to the ultimate test. And while the new version has spruced up the visuals and made everything a bit sleeker, it retains all the important stuff like the brilliant split-screen co-op mode, which actually feels even more valuable in an era where local multiplayer games aren't quite so common. The 8th Ace Combat game is set to deliver a whole new level of cinematic spectacle with dynamic multi-layered cloudscapes for players to zoom through as they enjoy the full majesty of flight. And then, the even greater majesty of blowing stuff up. As well as a spectacular campaign, Ace Combat 8 Wings of Thieve will launch with the most expansive multiplayer experience in the series' long history, with a whole range of different modes and full cross-platform play coming in for landing on October 2nd. I know it's a new game from the wacky folks behind the Like a Dragon franchise, and I know it has the word stranger right there in the title, but the new Stranger Than Heaven trailer still caught me out because apparently Tupac is in the game. By using archival footage and photographs, RGG Studio created a character named Amaru for their new title, which will tell an epic tale of friendship, betrayal, banging tunes, and brutal melee combat that spans across 5 decades. It sounds like the sort of game that only RGG could make, and if you want to play it, you should hit them up on January 15th next year. If you've been dying to go for another ride around the French Riviera ever since Forza Horizon 2, then you'll definitely want to give Clutch a spin. Arriving in spring 2027, this open-world racer gives players a gorgeous map to explore with terrain that ranges from stunning coastlines and towering mountains to bustling city streets. This is no lazy tourist trip though, because Clutch also features a gritty tale about a star racer and his sister as they discover that this racer's paradise has a dark underbelly. Oh, and the sister is voiced by Little Sims. How sick is that? With gameplay that spans professional circuits, underground street racing, and high-speed pursuits, Clutch sounds like Forza Horizon with a bit of Need for Speed in the mix. So, want, obviously. True to its name, this one came as a true revelation for Final Fantasy fans. The third and final installment in the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy will be coming straight to Xbox Series X and S and PC in early 2027. Naturally, the story picks up right where we left off in Rebirth, with our heroes preparing to square off with Sephiroth before he can carry out his plan to pummel the planet with a giant meteor. The Remake trilogy has offered a bold reimagining of Final Fantasy VII's famous tale, so who knows where this chapter will take us. If Xbox Game Pass gets a weirder game than There Are No Ghosts at the Grand this year, I will be seriously impressed. Colour me shocked, shooketh surprised. The latest trailer reminded us all how odd this home renovation sim / ghost hunting game is by introducing us to a new character named Adam, a local police officer with a tendency to break out into extremely catchy reggae jams. Did I mention this game is also a musical? It is. Between Adam, the talking cat, the eclectic soundtrack, and an intriguing mixture of genres, There Are No Ghosts at the Grand is the sort of game that you have to play at least once, just for curiosity. And you'll be able to do so day one on Xbox Game Pass Ultimate later this year. If you like to schedule your nightmares well in advance, then you're in luck. Capcom has already confirmed the next Resident Evil game, and it'll be out next year. Resident Evil Veronica is a remake of Resident Evil Code Veronica, which was released back in 2000 for the most hipster of consoles, the Sega Dreamcast. It takes place 3 months after the events of Resi 2 and follows Claire and Chris Redfield to a remote prison island, where, as bad luck would have it, another catastrophic viral outbreak has occurred. Veronica promises to be an absolutely beautiful take on a really overlooked entry to this iconic horror franchise. Set to arrive sometime in 2027, Monster Hunter Wilds Ascendants will be taking players up, and away into the floating ruins of an ancient city known as the Skybound Edie. How did it become so ruined, you ask? Could have something to do with all the elder dragons kicking about, I guess. Ascendants looks like it will add a whole new sort of verticality to the game, with players riding updrafts to soar even higher, and there's also a neat new bit of gear called the Booster Bracer that can soup up your attacks and make you move faster in a pinch. Like when a ginormous beast called Kushala Daora is staring at you with its dinner time eyes, for example. These are my dinner time eyes. A treasure from the ancient past will be seeing the light of day once again next year thanks to Tomb Raider: Legacy of Atlantis. This new tomb raiding escapade is actually a remake of Lara Croft's original adventure, which first arrived back in 1996, when it was presumably played on some sort of steam-powered machine by people wearing top hats or, whatever. Legacy of Atlantis promises to carefully preserve the spirit of the iconic original, while bringing it up to speed with modern Tomb Raider games when it comes to things like visuals and controls. Plus, none of Lara's adventures ever go quite according to plan, so even players who have memorized the original game should expect a few surprises. This game sounds absolutely sick. A first-person survival horror filled with horrifying monsters and some frighteningly realistic physics. Set to arrive in 2027, Ill plunges players into a huge research fort where things have gone seriously awry, and the place is now overrun with genuinely nightmarish monsters. With unpredictable enemies and an extremely dynamic world, Ill keeps you on your toes every second that you're playing, until some horrible beastie bites them off anyway. The newly announced Gundam Rogue Orbit is like if you took a Monster Hunter game and threw in a bunch of badass anime robots. Because honestly, what couldn't be improved by badass anime robots? Hop into your Gundam, join up with a ragtag crew of soldiers, and get ready to defend humanity from all manner of giant alien monsters in this third-person action game. The combat here is melee focused, fast, and extremely cinematic. So if that sounds like your sort of thing, check out Gundam Rogue Orbit when it arrives in 2027. Now officially set to release in 2027, The Wolf Among Us 2 will take players back to Fabletown for another supernaturally infused neo-noir adventure. Playing once again as Sheriff Bigby Wolf, top tier name by the way, they'll have to work from the shadows to save their city from ancient forces, powerful gangsters, and all sorts of other sinister stuff. The sequel promises to expand on the original in just about every way, with deeper investigative gameplay, cinematic combat, and a branching narrative that features important choices and major consequences. The sequel to 2020's award-winning Raji, an ancient epic, doubles down with a brand new playable character for players to get to grips with as they embark on another journey through its gorgeous ancient world. The titular hero, Raji, returns for round 2, although she's decidedly more battle-hardened this time round. And she's joined by her young brother, Dorsh, a dream walker haunted by visions of the past. Between his supernatural powers and her ability to smash stuff with a stick, they make for a pretty good team, and switching between them promises to make for deeper gameplay and an even richer emotional experience this time around. After almost 20 years out of the game, the Stuntman series is dusting off its crash helmet for a new installment worthy of the big screen. Stuntman Hollywood challenges players to become the greatest stunt driver that the silver screen has ever seen, hitting your marks with expert precision, while all sorts of crazy, very unsafe nonsense goes on around you. And the really cool thing is that Stuntman Hollywood will actually have us playing through iconic sequences from real movies like Back to the Future, Death Race, and of course, Fast and Furious. 12 years went by and we all thought we were safe. And then boom, like a chest burster, Alien Isolation 2 came flying out and set us all into a frenzy. Ah! The sequel to the award-winning horror game will have players investigating a crashed spaceship and inadvertently unleashing a terrifying space monster in the process. The reveal trailer didn't tell us too much or offer a release window, but it did feature plenty of blood, flamethrowers, and creepy xenomorph smiles. So we really couldn't be more stoked. Fumito Ueda has made some of the most critically acclaimed games of all time, and now he's back with a brand new title, and it features giant robots. The action-packed reveal trailer for Gen Atlas showed off a desert world populated by massive mechs, which it looks like players will get to both clamber on and take control of, piloting them in epic rock'em sock'em type bouts of robot fisticuffs, then hopping out to go blast some weird little alien curs. It also looks like you can fly your robot's head around like a ship and then jam it onto other robot bodies, which is all I've ever really wanted to do. Crossfire is a narrative-driven, strictly single-player third-person shooter that sends the player off to save humanity from an existential threat. With danger all around, they'll need to rely on the game's ingenious adaptive cover system to survive, using the terrain to keep themselves out of sight until it's time to strike. Woo-wee! That's a wrap on your hot game summer, but what announcement are you most excited about? Hit the comments to let us know and I'll see you next time. Bye!